Right, let's get more on this now with Mark McAdam and a couple of other things as well. The main question most of my mates are asking me right now is how can Liverpool afford to sign Alexander Isak? Can you explain it to them and to everyone else watching, please?
Well, we'll try and make it quite simple for people at home because it can be quite confusing the way PSR operates within the Premier League. You've seen clubs like Everton and Nottingham Forest suffer with points deductions because they haven't basically abided by the rules. And people are going, well, how come a club like Liverpool going to spend huge sums of cash and still fall within the rules? And ultimately, PSR is all about your permitted allowable losses. So for a side like Liverpool, who turn over £614 million in their last set of accounts, they can afford to spend a lot more than a club like Newcastle, who turned over £320 million in their last set of accounts. Look at this. This is the net spend on transfers since 2021-2022. This includes the last 9 transfer windows. So it is a lot of spending over the last few years in the Premier League. And you can see Chelsea right out in front with £852 million. But they're, again, a side that generate a lot of commercial income. They have a higher turnover than Newcastle, for example, so it allows them to spend more money on transfers. You can see Manchester United right up there as well, Arsenal at £611 million, and you can see that the change in dynamic between Arsenal and Spurs and then Liverpool. Now, what's really important to point out with regards to these particular net spend figures, Liverpool's doesn't include the sale of Luis Diaz, which we know is around 75 million euros, so around 65.5 million pounds. So if you take that off of Liverpool's figure, it means their net spend since 21-22 is actually less than Newcastle's.
Wow.
Now, the reason why it's less is because they're very well run, they're very clever with what they do in the transfer market, they recycle cash, which means they sell players, bring money in and then reinvest that money into other players. They don't very often go and spend big in the transfer market. They always wait for the right type of player to become available. The likes of Virgil van Dijk, they spent big on him. Alisson the same. And then, of course, in this window, they've identified players that they feel they can make a big investment on that are going to have a massive effect on their starting 11 and their squad. For example, Luis Diaz was a player they signed in January, a number of years ago. They paid £37.5 million for him with some add-ons. They've just sold him for £66 million. So therefore, they've sold a 28-year-old, made a huge profit on him. And of course, that looks good when you look at the accountancy and the PSR calculations. So, yeah, so it's really positive stuff as far as Liverpool are concerned. And you can see that whilst they are spending a lot of money, they're also bringing in a lot of money. And you just have to look at this summer. Luis Diaz, 65, 66. Trent Alexander-Arnold, 10 million. Jarell Quansah, 35 million. Nat Phillips, 2.5 million. So already, whilst they may have spent 300 million, which is the top end, and including all of the add-ons, at the minute, their actual outlay this summer is probably about £150 million. Yeah. Incredible stuff. You can see one of those players, Luis Diaz, arriving in Munich. He left Tokyo last night. He arrived in Munich. He's completed his medical now before he officially gets confirmed as a Bayern Munich player. We know that his first training session for Bayern Munich is going to be on Thursday morning. He'll get officially confirmed Thursday afternoon, where he'll meet the media for the first time and go through that very first press conference. So, yeah, Luis Diaz leaving Liverpool, but once again, it represents huge profit for them. Really sensible, clever, astute business. They're very well run. And right now, the fans and the sporting director, Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, are seeing the fruits of all of that careful spending over the last few years. It's enabling them now to go and strengthen that Arne Slot squad and do it in some style.
Yeah, and that's worrying for the rest of the Premier League, isn't it?